Hello, folks. Dustin Zarni here, Democratic Elections Commissioner for Onondaga County. Welcome to Commissioner in the Car. Today is Tuesday, December 5th, and this is that's a wrap on the hand count edition of Commissioner in the Car. And the reason I'm here a little late. Usually I do this around 5 o'clock. I got this done at 7:30. I was wrapping up kind of a celebratory drink with our next county clerk, Emily Essie, and her team, because the hand count finished yesterday, and all indications are, we're still wrapping up some tally sheets, but Emily Essie survived the hand count, and she will be the next county clerk of Onondaga County. And earlier in the hand count, we settled the other three races as well. Joe Meechan remained the Solvay Village Ward 1 trustee. Unfortunately, on the other two hand counts, the Democrat Emily Woslin in Camillus Ward 3 Town Council and Jim O'Connell in Spafford Town Council were not able to pick up enough votes in the hand count to be able to overcome the lead that their Republican office holders, incumbent office holders, held on the board. So those are the four races that were hand count. Of course, the big one was Emily Essie, the county clerk. It took 5 days to get the hand count done. We started on Tuesday, November 28th, and we finished yesterday. But we're not quite finished with the election. And let me explain. So, we sifted through 90,714 ballots, or thereabouts. And during that process, bipartisan observers were the ones that, watched us. They made sure that we were doing everything right. They objected to some of the ballots, and I'll get into the objections in a little bit. But at the end of the day, we estimate that Lisa Dell, the Republican incumbent, who trailed by 307 votes after the final canvass of absentees, only picked up 9 votes in the entire process. Thus, it was safe to declare Emily Essie the apparent winner of the county clerk race. And over the next few days, we're going to compare all of our tally sheets to the spreadsheet that we made on the fly, which was unofficial, and make sure that we have the exact number ready, and then certify the election. We haven't actually certified the election for any of the races because we've been waiting for this hand count, and write-ins we've been doing. We had a lot of write-ins this year, and that is what has delayed that, but we expect that to be done by Friday. So next Tuesday's Commissioner in a Car, I'll be talking about the certification of the election and moving on to the 2024 election. I do want to talk about ballots and how ballots get thrown out in a hand count. Unlike absentees or election day or early voting, we actually hand inspect these ballots as opposed to running them through a machine. And that results in ballots that either people marked too lightly, that that the machine couldn't pick up, and those ballots get brought into the vote, or a lot of times it involves a lot of ballots where people do things that will get their ballot thrown out, and then party observers object to and throw out those ballots, and that's the only way that this can happen is in the hand count. So the theory behind the hand count is that, you're going to pick up more votes. You're going to pick up votes for certain candidates, and that's why only the very close races have it. But it doesn't, what we did find is that our new machines, the clear ballot machines, performed admirably well. I think we had less than 50 ballots that had changes from what was the election day count to how it's counted for during the hand count. And less than a dozen or so of those were ballots where somebody actually marked in the bubble too lightly or just outside the bubble, and thus the machine didn't pick it up. What we did find is the machine had accurate counts on most of the ballots, over 90,000, of those ballots, only about, 50 or so ballots had inaccurate marks. And it wasn't inaccurate marks. Most of the time it was voter error. And many of those 50 ballots were ballots that were thrown out on objection. And the most, the biggest reason for somebody throwing out a ballot was writing on the ballot a political message or signing it or having some kind of identifying mark outside of the write-in boxes, outside of the voting areas. And this year, the 30 or so ballots that were thrown out because of that, there was more challenge that we didn't throw out. But the ones that actually were thrown out, the ones that got thrown out were people who wrote political messages on their ballots. And this year, the biggest example of that was Free Palestine. There was a lot of people who wrote on the ballots Free Palestine, and they wrote it outside the write-in box, and that is not allowed under New York State law. It wouldn't matter what you write. There was one person who wrote something about the aquarium. There was one, there was an FU ballot. and it actually said FU. Instead of the actual colloquialism. So there were a few of those types of ballots are the ones that got thrown out, unfortunately. And those ballots, that's one of the things I wanted to talk about is that remember when you're filling out your ballots next year, do not put any political messages on it. You may think it's funny. You may think it's important. You may think it's something that you want people to see. A, they're only going to see it if we get to the hand count. And B, if we do see it, it's going to throw out your ballot. And it'll throw out your vote. So don't do it. And if you do it, actually just don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. And by the way, we'd also noticed a few people during absentees signed their ballot. Even though the instructions specifically say do not sign the ballot, you're supposed to sign the outer envelope, but not the ballot itself. So, and that's what's called an identifying mark. And or people who made a mistake on a ballot, especially on an absentee, crossed it out and then initialed it. Well, the cross out, that's fine. You can cross out your vote and say you don't want to vote in that race. But if you initial it, that means it's an identifying mark. That means it breaks the anonymity of the ballot and thus throws out the ballot. You may say, well, why does it matter if I sign my ballot or put Free Palestine on there or any of these other things? And why did those ballots get targeted for being thrown out in a hand count where, where it's my right to free expression? And I understand your right to free expression. But this goes back to the Tammany Hall days. This is an anti-corruption law that back in the old days, when a union boss or a regular boss would want, a business owner would want to ensure that their employees or union members voted a certain way, they would offer monetary gifts for that. And the only way that they would be able to know whether their people actually voted that way is that they would instruct their people to put their name or an identifying mark or symbol or message on the ballot. So when they're hand reviewing these ballots, they would be able to know, hey, that ballot's from my person. Do not try to throw that out, or hey, they're going to get their $5. So it's an anti-corruption law. And I think it's still a good law. Anonymity of the ballot is something that is very important. And it is a sacrosanct to our democracy. And we need to protect it. And if you're breaking that anonymity, even if you're breaking it on yourself, you're going to get your ballot thrown out in a hand count. Now, it'll only be thrown out in the races that are close. It's only thrown out, only examined in those races. So some of those votes ended up counting, and the ones that didn't count were the ones that, that were actually involved in the 4 races that were involved in the hand count. So, but, races are close. You don't know which race is going to be close. In the case of this county clerk race, 300 votes separated. out of 90,000. We had an 8-vote margin in the Camillus Ward 3, so your votes matter. 12 votes in Solvay Village Ward 1, 19 votes in Spafford Town Council. So do not write on your ballots, my friends. Do not write anything other than filling in the oval, or if you write in a write-in name, you can put in a name on that. Those the only time you should ever write in a ballot. Don't sign it, don't date it, don't initial any mistakes. And if you have any questions, talk to your election inspector inside the polling place. They'll be happy to explain these rules to you as well. And please, no political messages on the ballot, or any messages at all, political or not. They will result in your ballot being thrown out. Now, I'm going to make this kind of a quick commissioner card because it's kind of late. But over the next week or so, we will be certifying the election. And I hope by Friday to post certified results on our Board of Elections website, onvote.net. And of course, I will post about it and share links on my Facebook socials and all of that. So check that out. Next Tuesday, that's what we will be talking about, is the certification process and why it does take 4 or 5 weeks after the election to do this, because we are making sure that every vote counts, every vote's recorded, every write-in vote, which there were a lot of write-in votes, especially on races that were uncontested, like the Supreme Court justice race. Those races had a lot of write-in votes. But before I go, I do want to talk about just what a good year the Democrats had in running for office. We had a lot of flips go our way. We talked about county clerk, but the 2 family court judge races were also flips. They were held by Republicans and now are held by Democrats. We also saw flips in the towns. So, Skinny Atlas supervisor, a flip with the Lysander supervisor. Democrats held their own in every race inside the city of Syracuse, DeWitt, and Manlius, so they didn't lose any as well in those races. They did lose a supervisor out in Pompey, but that's because the Democratic supervisor decided not to run, and there was no opposition to the Republican supervisor candidate. So only a conservative candidate opposition, so that was a flip. They lost the Solvay Village Ward 3 race. That went from Democrat to Republican. But other seats also went from Republican to Democrat. So 2 Salina Ward members, town board members, flipped from Democrat or Republican to Democrat. A Geddes town board member flipped from Democrat to Republican, and we got very close on getting a second one, which would have given us a majority on the Geddes town board. But a paperwork screw up and caused a lot of votes to go to a third-party candidate that wasn't actually running in the race, and that may have contributed to that as well. So there's a lot of opportunities for Democrats, despite it being a very, very low turnout year. And yes, we did get close in County Ledge 10, and we're unable to flip any more of the county ledge seats. Gerrymandered districts are tough, and they're going to continue to be tough for Democrats unless we win this lawsuit that is going on right now. And there were a lot of other places where we contested that we did not pick up any seats. Onondaga, Clay, Camillus, and Cicero. These are places where we made contests, but we were unable to break them. But when we're talking about flips, Democrats flipped more than Republicans, despite the county executive win. And I must note that County Comptroller Marty Masterpole won his re-election, and he, by the way, got the most votes in Onondaga County of any candidate running. That's gone underreported. So there's a lot that Democrats can look forward to, and I hope to get my weekly walk done this weekend. I promised it the last 2 weekends, but I haven't been able to get to it. But I hope for that to be done this weekend, and I'll kind of point out some of these things as I start to analyze the 2023 general election, because it will be certified and we'll have data, and we can start to do that over the next few weeks. So go to DustinZarny.com. You can subscribe, get any content or election news articles sent to you, and I'll be happy to do that. And then feel free to, enjoy the holidays. 2024 election is, we're in it now. And we'll be talking more about that in the weeks to come as well. So take care and enjoy your day. Bye-bye.